Hello and welcome back to another TFT video. Going back a little bit today to a more traditional style of video here for you guys. Gonna be doing the voiceover because I've been playing a little bit off stream, not with the face cam, not stuff like that. I just felt like playing some pretty chill games on my smurf. So currently in this lobby we are in high platinum, low diamond, elo, just about. So still playing against relatively good players, but it's something that I feel a little bit more comfortable winning games with. So anyways, hopping right into the gameplay, it's actually a pretty interesting build. So Mech Pilot is almost never used. I never see anybody going for it, so I thought maybe I could make Mech Pilots work in one of my games. So right away, we are going to be picking up a couple infiltrators, including a tier 2 Nocturne. We're going to be getting a Rumble from a orb in the early rounds, and going to be picking up a Rumble as well. So this is actually a very, very strong early game build because of the Demolitionist. Rumble almost always gets his ult off, even though he's level 1. So it can be really, really nice to hit that early Rumble if you do have the Ziggs as well. I actually also hit a very early Bard here, which I think actually helps us do pretty well in this game because he does get us quite a bit of XP throughout the entirety of this game. And we're actually still able to win just because of the power of our infiltrators and our Rumble. So the Bard isn't even holding us back too bad. We are going to pick up an Annie pretty quickly. And as you can see, we're already up at 20 gold on a win streak. Or not quite a win streak, but about to be on a win streak. On round 2-3 with 20 gold is pretty nice to be hitting that. We are going to be beating this guy as well, getting quite a few meeps here. Unfortunately, if we could have got one more, that would have been optimal, and we would have been level 5 coming out of the carousel, but that would be very, very fortunate for us, and unfortunately, that is not what happens. So here on the carousel, we are going to be looking to go for that chain vest because Bramble is so important on the Mech Pilot, especially in this Jhin meta, because Jhin is going to be doing a lot of physical damage, so negating as much physical damage as we can is very, very important for us. So coming out of the carousel, we didn't level up to level 5, which is something I would normally do, and that did cost us the win here, although I'm not sure if leveling up would have actually won us that round. We do actually hit the tier 2 Zed as well pretty quickly here, and I also hit a Gnar, which is actually pretty nice because that allows us to potentially get the Astro buff if we do hit one Nautilus, which is what I'm going to be going for here. We really want to get use out of our Bard. So I am going to be trying to find that Nautilus. I do end up selling an Annie here on the bench because I know that we're not going to be hitting Mech Pilot right away because we do need to hit the Fizz, and I'm betting it's going to come back. I also do end up selling the Bard, which ends up being kind of a mistake because we do actually hit another Bard here and the Nautilus, so I could have kept the Bard for the Bard pair, although it did make us a little bit of econ. I'm going to be putting the items onto the Bard as well. I know I'm not going to have in my final build, and QSS is the other main item I need for my Mech Pilot, so I'm going to make that right away. And here you can see the Bard actually made us 4 meeps there in that single round, which is super, super nice. And here we pick up a second Bard, which would have been our third Bard if we kept our other one. So that is really too bad that we did not keep the Bard in the first place, because we would have a tier 2 Bard, which would have been fantastic. Here also up against the Blitzcrank, the QSS is actually doing pretty well for us. And we get another 4 meeps here, which is awesome. So we're already level 6 with over 50 econ on 3-3. It feels super, super nice. So here I'm actually going to look to go for a level 7 rolling build. So I really, really want to get tier 3 Shaco and tier 3 Zed. Those are going to be my primary carries. And hopefully getting a tier 3 mech will also just make the mech so much more tanky. So here we do want that Gnar. We want some magic resist for our Mech Pilot. Unfortunately, it does get taken, and that Gnar would have been really nice because we could have potentially hit a tier 2 Gnar, which would have been really good in our transition. We are going to pick up a tier, and we actually do end up hitting the Fizz. So we're going to sell the Bard since we are on even mana, or even meeps, even XP, which I hate being on an odd amount of XP because it's just so annoying. But doesn't really matter in the end. We do level up, and now we do have 4 infiltrators and 3 Mech Pilots for the Mech Pilot carry. We're also going to put in a Ziggs, and I'm going to put the Shojin onto Nocturne because I'm, at this point, hoping to get a Echo to replace the Nocturne. So here our Mech Pilot is super tanky, and our Infiltrators are able to just clean up the back lines. So this is a very strong mid-game build, early and mid-game build, but it does fall off quite a bit towards the late game, which you'll see here. The Infiltrators don't really give us all that much, which is a little bit unfortunate. We do get a bow, but we kind of need better components for that to be useful at all, so it is a little unfortunate. All we have is a tier, which I'm not exactly sure what to do with that at this point. Here we're up against a Syndra player who was pretty strong, was number 1 with the win streak, but we were able to take him out because of our Infiltrators just destroying the entire backline. So here we're actually hitting quite a few Shakos, which is not what I was expecting initially. I really thought I'd be going more for the tier 3 Zed carry, especially since there were 2 other people at least going for the Shakos in this lobby, as there normally is. So it was a little bit surprising to me that I was hitting so many Shakos this early in the game. Finally going to hit the tier 2 Rumble. Going to hit a second tier 2 Shako, which is, again, pretty unexpected for me. I wasn't really expecting to get that. But we don't really have good items for him anyways, so not much you can do about that. There, I was actually watching the Syndra to see how fast she was ulting, and she was actually ulting every single auto attack, which was kind of insane. With the double Shojin's blue buff, she actually ults every single auto attack. Or maybe it was every like 1.5 auto attacks, and with the Star Guardian proccing, she was able to ult every auto attack. But it was kind of crazy, kind of strong, but not strong against us with our Infiltrators, luckily. We are also going to be hitting the tier 2 Ziggs, which does not really matter. He's literally just there for the Demolitionist buff. And when we get a Gangplank, we are going to be switching over to the Gangplank. So here you can see that we're starting to fall off a little bit. If our Mech Pilot's not able to carve through the front line and get onto the back line, then we just are not going to be winning these rounds. So we're going to pick up a second tier 2 Zed here as well, which is pretty nice. And we are going to start falling off a little bit here. So a lot of people start running for running Urgots, which is super annoying to play against because it just kills our entire Mech Pilot, which is our entire Mech Garen, which is super annoying and is a really strong counter, and one of the reasons that Mech Pilot is so bad right now. So we actually end up getting 3 items from the Arc Raptors, which includes a rapid fire cannon, which is super nice for the Shako. And since we aren't hitting the Echo, I do decide to sell the Nocturne and put the Shojin onto our Shako. So now we're finally nearing our final build. We're just 2 Shakos away from Shako 3. We're 2 Zeds away from Zed 3. And we are 3 Rumbles away from Rumble 3, which are very important things to hit. So we are beating the Darkstar players, which is pretty nice to see that we can actually win against some relatively strong comps in this meta right now. So we're going to stay level 7, not even going to level up. I really want to hit the Zed 3 and the Shako 3, so I want to keep maximum percent chance of rolling those units. Going level 8 does not actually make it any less likely to hit the Shakos, but it does make it less likely to hit the Zeds. So her Mech Pilot is so tanky. He can't do anything to it against another Darkstar player. It's just so tanky with that Ionic Spark and the Bramble Vest. QSS means it can't be Zephyred. It's just super nice for us. There you can see the Shako versus Shako ending of that fight. And we actually end up hitting a Xerath, which would have been nice if we were going for a more traditional build, but since we are going for the Infiltrators, we're not going to worry about that. Another Darkstar player with a tier 2 Shako. Our Shako is able to absolutely destroy his backline, and with our Mech Pilot with the stun, we are able to just barely croak out the win here, actually. Shako is very strong against us. Nocturne coming in clutch with the stun. That might have actually won us this round here, because Shako definitely would have killed all of the Mech Pilots that would pop out of Garen once he was killed. Here on the carousel, not any super good items for us. Maybe the Giant Slayer would have been nice, but that does get taken, so I'm deciding between Runins or Red Buff But I think ZZRot is probably the best here because I'm going to want to look for a Gangplank soon, and that's probably the best Gangplank item of those items. So I was contemplating putting it on the Zed because I was going to get Zed to 3 stars pretty quickly, but I decided to put it on the Ziggs instead. So here we have an Urgot, which I realized my positioning of the Ziggs was actually really, really bad here because it let the Urgot target the Ziggs and kill our Mech Pilot. Which, if he would have targeted a Infiltrator, we might have actually won this round instead of targeting the Ziggs, which made it hit the Mech Garen. We're still feeling relatively good here. We know we just need to hit our upgrades and we will be significantly stronger. So, and we're very, very healthy at this point, which is what you tend to see with Mech Pilot Infiltrators, but it is going to fall off a cliff here, and we are actually going to end up losing quite a few rounds. Up against another Darkstar player, something we are relatively strong against. But as you can see, his Jhin is significantly stronger than a lot of the other Jhins have been in this lobby, and he is able to take us out here. Although it was pretty close. Just had to take out that Jhin. If we had better positioning on our Shaco, we might have actually won this round. One more Shaco until we hit the tier 3 Shaco, which would be huge. That's just a really, really big buff for us. Something we really, really need to see. And we're also one away from the Zed, which is less important, but still would be nice to hit. We do end up getting a Morelos here, which isn't the most important thing ever, but it helps a little bit. So here I actually changed the positioning of my Ziggs, so that way if there is a Urgot, it will not attack the Mech Pilot, it will attack some Infiltrator or something. So here this guy only has a level 1 Jhin, which I think is the reason he did not win this round. If he had a level 2 Jhin, he definitely would have beat us here, because our Mech Pilot would have been already dead, and he would have one-shot our Shaco. But unfortunately for him, he did not hit it because so many people were going Darkstar in this lobby. So we are able to take him out, and we are already in the top 3. The top 3 is very, very healthy compared to the rest of the lobby. I think a lot of high rolling here between these 3 comps. So it's very good that we're winning in the early game to stay healthy, because we definitely lose to these comps at this point until we hit our upgrades like Shaco, and once we hit the Gangplank, that'll make us significantly stronger as well. So don't really know exactly how to position. It's kind of difficult. This Urgot is super, super annoying for us because he ults right away. This is why we put the Ziggs here. So that way, if the Urgot did try and ult the Mech Pilot, it would ult the Ziggs instead. Unfortunately, our Shaco dies super, super quickly, which is very unfortunate. If he was level 3, he might have actually survived long enough to kill the rest of the units. But also here, if our Rumble was able to survive for half a second longer, he would have actually ended up killing the Ahri and the Jarvan, but unfortunately, he died pretty quickly. So we are going to look to level up after this round. We want to get, hopefully, a GA on the Carousel would be perfect for us for the Gangplank that we are theoretically going to get. But sometimes you don't always get what you ask for. So I'm trying to figure out how to position here. I know there's an Urgot, which is really, really scary. This guy also just threw a random level 1 Urgot into his build, which is very annoying. I did give him Protector, but it is what it is. I'm not exactly sure how to position here. And I'm keeping my Shaco in the middle, which allows us to kill the Janna really quickly and the Xerath. We're up against the same guy again, actually. And for some reason, it targets the Shaco there instead of the Mech Pilot or something, which actually lost us the round. If the Shaco would have not been targeted, he would have killed the Urgot before the Urgot actually killed the Mech Pilot, and we might have actually won that round. And so I'm feeling a little bit nervous here. We are down to 18 health, which is a little bit scary. We might be able to survive one more loss, but we really want to just hit our upgrades. I forgot I was first pick, and I actually end up going for the Deathblade here because there was no GA, unfortunately. And the Deathblade's not too bad on Zed, actually. If Zed's able to get a little bit more AD, he can sometimes kill 1 extra unit, which could be the difference between winning and losing here. We still haven't hit an Echo, which is a little bit unfortunate, but I guess we are still level 7 here. When we actually end up hitting double Fizz, which is kind of huge, we're also 1 away from the Annie 3, but as you'll see here, we hit another Fizz. That's actually not something that we want to go for. We don't want to go for the tier 3 Annie, because if we do have the tier 3 Annie, then we can't go double Annie Rumble, which is what we're going to want to do if we do hit the tier 3 Fizz. So since we're one away from the Fizz, I do level up here and put in the extra Annie. So now our Fizz is actually going to jump to the back line, which is a huge improvement, especially if we can hit that tier 3 Fizz. So here, our Mech Pilot was able to kill just a couple extra units here to keep us in. If we didn't kill that Karma at the last second, I think we would have actually lost right there and not won the rest of the game. But here we're going to roll down. We got to hit the Gangplank, which we do. We got to hit the tier 3 Fizz. That is super, super huge for us. We actually end up hitting it relatively early, and I'm feeling pretty good about this now. I'm deciding between putting the Morellos onto the Gangplank or the Fizz. I decided to put it on the Fizz just in case the Fizz survives with 1 HP before he gets his ult off. So I should be scouting here to see which side my Fizz should be on, but I do actually end up hitting the faster impact, which is pretty huge. And as it turns out, I probably should have had my Fizz on the opposite side here. So I'm thinking this might just be GG, but since we did hit the Shaco 3, we might be able to pull out the win here. So the Fizz ult actually one-shots the Jarvan with double Warmogs, and we are actually able to win that round just barely, which is super huge. We hit another tier 3 Annie, but again, we can't go for it because if we do get rid of the Annie, then our Fizz will no longer jump to the backline. It will become part of the Garen, which we really, really do not want to happen. So unless we hit 2 Annies in the same role, there's just no reason to pick up Annies. So we did end up selling the Annies on our bench to look for more Gangplanks or more Gangplank upgrades. So here I finally did scout a little bit ahead, and I positioned so that my Fizz would get the buff from the Urgot. So the Fizz is able to get off an ultimate, which kills the Urgot just in time before he kills our Shaco, which might have actually been the difference between winning and losing this round here as well. If the Fizz didn't quite ult in time, then our Mech Pilot dies here, and the Ahri actually would have maybe cleaned up. But luckily that's not what happens, and we actually end up taking that guy out, so now we are officially top 2, which is super huge, and I'm feeling like we might actually be able to win this game. I just got to position my Fizz correctly. Still rolling for, who knows why. Oh, for an Echo. I wanted an Echo because I didn't hit a single Echo this entire game. We're still rocking a Nocturne 2, which is just not that useful at this stage of the game. An Echo would have been much, much more strong for us here. Fizz is doing so much damage, so I do want the Fizz on the other side. I'm going to move it at the last second, move the Gangplank as well, because I want the Fizz to kill the Xerath, that's his name. He does get the ult off, which one-shots everybody in the backline, and it wasn't even close here. Once we got that Fizz 3, the Shaco gets killed by our Shaco, and we are actually able to win this game. Super, super close game. We had so many 3-star units. It's pretty crazy, and super fun one here. So thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe for more, and I'll see you next time. Peace.